All right, hello California and America. This is Lucy Riley coming to you from the Richmond Progressive Alliance in Richmond, California. Tonight we are bringing you two feisty Bernie-crats who are running against Nancy Pelosi in San Francisco, Stephen Jaffe. And Maria Estrada running against Anthony Rendon in AD 63. So folks, thank you so much for tuning in to Project Progressive here at the Richmond Progressive Alliance in Richmond, California. Please do us a favor because we are the commercial, folks. Social media is the best political organizing tool. We have wrapped our opposable thumbs around since we climbed down out of the trees. Use it. Help us promote our corporate-free candidates, and let's get these folks elected. So Maria and Stephen, I want to talk to you guys both, and I want you to share a little bit about your Bernie story, okay? I know for me, as a bedside nurse working here in Richmond, California, I have been living in the Bay Area since 2001. I started off my nursing career in Memphis, Tennessee, when we were the third highest homicide rate in the country, and then I moved down to New Orleans, where I worked at another trauma center, and we were the first #1 capital of homicides in the country. And I got a close and up and personal relationship with how race and class intersect in America, especially for poverty-stricken folks living in some of the poorest cities in America. And that put me on a trajectory for social justice that I don't think I could even articulate at the time. Moving to Richmond helped me put a lot of things in perspective because I met a group of people that were tired of complaining about the problems that were facing us as Americans and as working class Americans, and they were ready to put their money and their feet and their get blisters on their feet and get bruises on their knuckles from knocking on their neighbors' doors. And in 2014, we accomplished something amazing in Richmond, California. Faced with a corporate giant called Chevron, who spent $3 million trying to put down our corporate-free candidates, we got out 18 months in advance, had heart-to-heart conversations with our neighbors, talked to them about the issues, shared with them what our candidates were ready to do for them through the RPA and on the Richmond City Council, and we beat back Goliath, folks. Fast forward to 2016, we had two wonderful RPA City Council women make the big leap forward to decide to run for assembly in the state of California, and that would be Javanka Beckles. Let's pan back to Javanka Beckles running for, whoa, there we go, hold that sign up again, there we go, yay! Everybody's on the same team. So we got Javanka Beckles, who is running for AD 63 here in the deepest blue district in the deepest blue state in America, and we are going to take RPA strategy all the way to Sacramento. We also have Gail McLaughlin, who is running for Lieutenant Governor, and Gail has been a powerhouse all over the state of California, taking the RPA message and stories to the progressive pockets all over the state. She has gotten over 30 endorsements from different progressive organizations who are ready to grow their own progressive alliances and run corporate-free candidates in their area of the state. And she just got a National Our Revolution endorsement! So, folks, we've got two candidates here tonight who have heard the RPA message, who are activist candidates, who have been working with their communities for decades, and who are ready to take a message of corporate-free campaigning and working for working-class people. These are two candidates who are all about working class people. So we want to talk to both of you guys about some of the issues facing working class people in the state of California and in the country. And we'd like to start off with talking about health care, which there is no issue, right, folks, that has galvanized progressives in California like getting behind our single payer bill, SB 562. And if you would like to join us on our Healthcare for All mission here in the state of California, join us at Healthy California. And you can see our great sign right here. You can post on Twitter at #HealthyCalifornia or #SB562. So let's start off with talking about SB 562 here in the state of California, and what is the biggest obstacle, Maria, for us getting our single payer bill through?
Getting rid of the Speaker of the Assembly.
Woo! Yeah! So getting rid of the Speaker of the Assembly, who is Anthony Rendon, and tell us a little bit about what you have been working on the ground in your district with the Recall Rendon campaign.
Well, I could actually tell you that I was just with Healthy California in Linwood the weekend before last, canvassing, and one of the issues is that the people in that community just don't even know what SB 562 is. They don't even know who he is. They're just not politically engaged. This is a community, the average income is about $38,000 for a family of three, and people are just struggling, just trying to make ends meet. So that's just not something they think about. And a lot of times they'll say, well, I have insurance through my work. Well, how much do you pay for your insurance? $160 a check. And does it include your pharmaceuticals? No. Does it co-pays? No. So when you explain to them, they're kind of like, what are you talking about? Like, they have no idea. Mm-hmm. They're just not politically engaged, and that's really common. Mm-hmm. My parents actually became citizens when Prop 187 was coming up with Pete Wilson, and that's when they became citizens, and they became politically engaged and got involved and started voting. But even my mother, because my father, she has full insurance, no debt. She's fine. Like I said, most people don't have what my mother has. They're struggling just to make ends meet and put food on the table and make sure they have electricity and a roof over their heads. So that's not even something that unless there's an emergency, they don't think about. But even then, I mean, you could have a medical emergency or lose a tire, and that'll throw you off. I mean, people are at that point. Right. So it's really unfortunate that, considering the condition of that district and all the environmental issues that they're dealing with, that the speaker would block a bill that would help his district more than any district in the state. So,
and that is exactly why we've got to get people on Maria's campaign out knocking on doors. So we want to direct you to mariaforassembly.org, and we're going to show you that website. It's also on the header for our live stream. And folks, if you're living in AD 63 or anywhere in Southern California where you can get out and help Maria knock on some doors, we need to get the word out. Single payer is not an entitlement. Healthcare shouldn't be considered an entitlement. Healthcare is a human right.
I'll also add, I feel that our government is allowing these companies to poison our communities, our air, our water, our soil, our bodies, and they're killing us, and it's not an exaggeration. So I think it's criminal that the speaker would block a bill that would help those people. And it's just crucial that we do everything we can to get this to pass. So if you're Healthy California's in your neighborhood and they're canvassing, just make people aware of what's going on, notify them about the bill, educate them about what it's about, so that they understand, so that they could also start calling their assemblymen and their representatives and the speaker, trolling his Facebook, trolling his Twitter, everything, just to make sure that he knows that people are paying attention. Because they're dismissive of us. They see us as just a black and brown face, and then but we're disposable to them. Once they'll come around when they need our vote, and and other than that, they don't want to have anything to do with us. So we have that power. This state is majority Latino, so we have that power. We just need to use that power, and that's what we're not doing.
All right, Stephen. Presently, there are two different Medicare for All bills, or single-payer bills, in Congress right now. Tell us a little bit about, if you were elected to Congress, what would you do to help bring these bills, if not to Trump's desk, to a new president in 2020, so that single-payer will be a reality for Americans all over the country?
Well, the two bills are 676 in the House and Bernie's bill 1804, I believe, in the Senate. If I'm elected, the first thing I will do as a congressman is to co-sponsor 676.
Right on.
That's a no-brainer. And what's most interesting is the minority leader of the House of Representatives has not sponsored it. In fact, she opposes single payer affirmatively, and the reason she does that is because she takes tremendous donations from for-profit insurance companies, big pharma, and healthcare providers, and she sells her vote for those donations. So, and that's another discussion entirely about financing political campaigns. So it's time to educate the public better about what I agree with what Maria said. A lot of people don't understand it. The way I've tried to explain it is, do you understand how Medicare works? And most people say, yes. I said, it's the same thing as Medicare. It's Medicare for all of us. And that helps people understand it. But single payer sounds a little strange. And I think public education of what it means has a lot to do with getting it passed. I also think there's the sense in the country that the consensus for single payer is so strong that I think that people understand that is going to be inevitable, that we're going to have to join the 21st century. But the people who have a stake in making money off the health and the illness of others, which I find personally immoral,
Yes,
they will do everything they can to stop it from becoming law for as long as they can. So,
thank you. So, Stephen, good segue. You brought up education. And education here in the state of California, when we are the 6th wealthiest economy on the planet, and our state government spends less than 40 other states on public education. Folks, this is abysmal. This is embarrassing. And as a taxpaying Californian, I demand that the state of California fully fund public education. So, Maria, in your district, we have got some of the poorest people in the state, just like here in West County. And where we are in Richmond, California is just north of San Francisco in the western part of Contra Costa County. And we have some of the poorest districts in the state here. And we have been besieged by a charter school movement that has basically drained our public schools dry. And here at RPA, we listen to stories from parents who are grieving over this situation. They would love to support their local public schools, but the standardized testing and the performance of those local schools and the discipline problems in some of those local schools is so bad that parents do not feel safe with their kids in public schools. And in a place like Richmond, where we have charter schools, basically, in a 1 to 3, maybe some of our RPA folks can help us out with these statistics, 1 to 3 margin here in Richmond. It's really overwhelming for parents. When you've got a charter school right down the street where your kid can be in a 1 to 15 or maybe 1 to 20 ratio, you don't have to drive them across town to a public school, and you know that your kids are going to be safe in that charter school. It's a very difficult situation. Maria, I know that you have faced this same issue with a lot of your fellow Bernie-crats in Southern California, and probably a lot of voters in your districts. In your district, what would you like to share with us about your thoughts on the state of public education in California? And if elected to the assembly, what would you like the voters to know that you would be taking to Sacramento to change the situation?
Well, I believe there's 238 charter schools in LA County, and they've diverted about $500 million from public funds to these charter schools.
Wow, folks, do we hear that?
It's tremendous amount of money.
$500 million.
$500 million.
Wow.
So what needs to happen, there has to be a moratorium on charter schools completely.
Right on.
They need to be phased out. And there also has to be a reallocation of funds with the prison system, because they're so willing to pay $75,000 per prisoner, and then they don't have money for students. But somebody's making money off the prison system. They're not making money out of educating our kids. So that whole cycle needs to change.
Yeah.
The legalization of marijuana. Everyone who's been convicted of a nonviolent crime that is involved with marijuana should be released immediately.
Right on.
It's not logical to legalize a drug and then have people incarcerated for that.
Absolutely.
And then they should also do a trade program or jobs program to help these people who've been incarcerated, and invest money in our infrastructure, and then utilize them to help train them and get them back in the workforce, so they don't get in a cycle of, in crime. It's just sad. But all that money needs to be diverted back into our schools and educating our kids. When I went to school a long, long time ago, I would get to school on the first day, and I would sit at my desk, and there would be like crayons, a ruler, a pencil, and a construction paper, and it was all free. Now my kids, when they went to school, I would get a list of they needed Kleenex and paper and pencils and markers and colored pencils and all the supplies the teachers need. And now with that tax plan that Trump did, teachers can't even write that off anymore. So who is that going to affect? Our kids.
Can I add one thought here on education? In terms of sources of income, one of the things that needs to be done here in the state of California, and I know I'm running for a federal office, but I happen to have an opinion on this, is to reform Prop 13.
Absolutely.
Prop 13, particularly the part pertaining to commercial property.
Absolutely.
There's no reason commercial property should be exempt. That will create a tidal of money, and I think it should be primarily directed towards education, which is just what Maria's been talking about.
Yes. Prop 13. Reform. Absolutely.
And then all of this could be done not with more taxes, but reallocation of the taxes that are already there.
Right. And that is exactly why we need Bernie-crats just like you going to Sacramento, because in the sixth wealthiest economy on the face of the earth, what California wants, California gets.
Yeah.
We can do this. We can do this.
California used to be, I believe, 6th in the country, and we're at the bottom 10 now.
For
education.
Yes, for education,
Yeah.
right. 40 other states
And I think
spend more
California
money per
is
capita.
the only state that kindergarten isn't even required.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about No Child Left Behind. We've left a whole lot of kids behind in the state of California, and that's got to change. So, the subject of campaign finance reform. Wow, that's a big one. Yeah. And as Bernie Kratz and then voters who are working an inside-out strategy, right? Trying to move the Democratic Party to the left from inside the party, and banging on the gates from the outside of the party, right? This is the central core issue. Corporate-free campaigns have got to become the norm if we are going to reclaim our democracy in this country. Can I get an amen on that? And we've got two candidates here who are running corporate-free campaigns, which means they are not taking a dime from corporation folks. They need your support. That's why we're on this live stream tonight, and that's why the good people of RPA have allowed us to come in and host this meet and greet here, okay? So, folks, let's get down to it. Maria, Stephen, let's talk about it. How difficult has it been? What kind of obstacles do you face here in the state of California, just even getting on the ballot?
Yeah, they're not too receptive to.
Yeah, and listen, who are we talking about here?
Democratic Party.
We're talking about the California Democratic Party.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're not receptive of that at all.
Both of us have had experiences within the last week or 10 days in which the party in which we belong and in which we're running has plotted and schemed, and I'm choosing my words carefully, to keep us off the ballot and to keep us from being even fairly heard in an endorsement context.
Well, they're going to hear me.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that for a little bit. So what we're talking about is an endorsement process that every party goes through. The Democrats and the Republicans go through this. But something has changed in the California Democratic Party in the last 4 to 5 years, and that is called a new rule, right? And that is the automatic endorsement of an incumbent. Can you imagine a more undemocratic process than the automatic endorsement of an incumbent? What are we doing here, right? What is going on? So both Stephen and Maria are running against incumbents in their district. And not only have you guys faced an uphill battle in raising money to promote your campaigns, but even getting on the ballot, right? Cost how much for Assembly District 63 and how much for CD?
I was $350 that they took from me. I don't know what.
You're talking about the endorsement form or
to get on the ballot?
It's $1,072 and it's $1,740 for him.
Oh,
That's just to get on the ballot.
Right.
Right? Just to have your name on the ballot.
Right, but we're talking about the application, the endorsement fee.
Let's talk about it all.
Okay, so it's $250 to fill out an endorsement form, and they give you the list of the delegates. So now it's like over 3,000, right?
Right.
And it's incorrect and incomplete, and it still managed to get over the threshold of the 20% people to sign, turning it on time, golden. Then find out someone got rescinded their vote, their signature after the deadline. So I'm like, I was mad, but I was like, it's all right, because we got 11, we only needed 10. Then Saturday morning, I get a text from Henry Huerta with the link to the academy. 2 people rescinded their votes. And at that point, se me revolvieron los apellidos. I got a little upset. So I started, emailing the staff at the CDP, and I wanted answers. I wasn't getting responses, so I contacted Eric Bauman, and I told him he needed to have his people contact me immediately. And they did. And 9:38 on Monday night, so this was a Wednesday, the deadline, I got copies of the letters. One of them was redacted. The first woman, apparently had been receiving phone calls from, within 2 hours of us submitting our petition, receiving calls from Rendon staff, and then finally from him. She was intimidated, and the next day she submitted her rescission letter. And the other woman, who I was corresponding with via text, Elizabeth Castillo actually is the one that met her at her job to get the signature. She doesn't have strong English. I read the letter, and there's no way she composed the letter, and there's stuff redacted on the letter. So I'm actually going on Monday. Stephen and I are going up, and we're going to go review the documents, because apparently they can't just, send them or scan them to us, let us see them. They got to take them from the 63rd, bring them up to SAC, and now I have to come up here just to view these documents.
So folks, it's not just that the Democratic Party is trying to shut down progressive issues. They will not allow progressives to even run. Okay? All right? So let's get this down deep. Okay? We're talking $5,000 basically to get on the ballot, to write your mission statement, to have that published, right?
My mission statement's $5,900.
Okay, so we're now looking towards $7,000, right? Before you've bought your first business card, right? What working class candidates can afford to do that? We need campaign financing, Republicans. Now, if we want a government by the people, for the people, we have got to have elections that are affordable, folks.
Yes.
Gotta have it. Stephen, talk to us a little bit about some of the obstacles that you've faced.
Well, pretty much the same ones that Maria's faced. In my case, it was a different version of the same tactic by the party. The tactic is change the rules after the game is over. In her case, they tried to unring the bell by pulling off 2 signatures after they'd been counted. In my case, my 22%, my 20%, we got enough in. Then they told me, no, you didn't. And I said, how is that possible? Do the math. Math hasn't changed since I went to school.
Right.
And they said, oh, we used another list you didn't have that had more names on it, and therefore you didn't have enough signatures. So they changed the rules, and nobody has had a satisfactory explanation about this. So that's how they did it. And there's one other candidate involved who's a progressive Democrat running against Dianne Feinstein, who had a similar experience, and they changed the rule on him, and now he's in the same fight that we are.
It's Pat Harris.
So Pat Harris, yes.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And folks, the news is this is happening to our Bernie crack candidates all over the state of California. They have all faced these rule changes that come up after the rules have been laid out. They're facing all sorts of shenanigans going on within inside the California Democratic Party. People, we've got to have a change. We have got to address fairness. Integrity matters. And the only way that we are going to get free and fair elections in the state of California and in this country is to send corporate-free candidates to get them elected. Right, so big issue, especially now when 45 has unleashed corporations to our national parks all over the country. Let's talk about fracking. Let's talk about California, which is supposed to be the bastion of environmental protection. It's supposed to be the bastion of renewable energy. We just had assembly members all over the state of California and our senators all over the state of California pull back on a cap and trade bill and basically tell small air districts like here in West County and the Bay Area Air District, you don't have a say. We have the ability to override you and all of the work that you've done to demand clean air and that corporations cut back on polluting the air for working class Americans. That doesn't matter anymore. We're going to make that a moot point. So this has been very discouraging for us here at RPA. We've got so many environmental activists who have worked years with the Air Quality Management Board in San Francisco to provide some of the most of the safest air quality standards in the country. And now we've had our legislature in Sacramento. Basically, I'm a Bernie crack, right? and I'm from Richmond, I can say what they did, right? They gave us a big FU. That's what they did, folks. They gave us the mid-digit salute, all right? Now, let's talk about fracking. Let's talk about who we are as Bernie-crats. Let's talk about what we're trying to do as far as environmental protection goes in the state of California, and what you would do, Stephen Jaffe, going to Congress.
Well, I would hope that I would replace the incumbent for the seat I'm running for, and that is someone who refuses to vote to ban fracking. That's the best thing I can do, is get her vote out of the Congress.
Right on.
I would replace it with a vote to ban fracking.
Across the board.
That is correct.
No ifs, ands, and buts about it.
To me, it's a no-brainer. I don't understand how anyone with a rational mind can approve that conduct and damage to the environment.
Right on.
Yeah.
Thank you. Maria, here in the state of California, we've got a cap and trade bill that needs to go forward and not backwards. If you were to go to Sacramento as the new assemblywoman from AD 63, what would be one of the first things that you work towards regarding this cap and trade?
Well, in regard to this whole fracking thing, I can tell you that every candidate, when you're a delegate, you get invited to go to meals with gubernatorial candidates, all kinds of people, and they call you all the time. And they invite you.
They won't leave you alone.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, Gavin Newsom's people call me all the time. And the reality is that fracking increased exponentially under Obama, and Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, promoted fracking globally under the Global Shale Gas Initiative, and she promoted it under a drought. We're in a drought. Jerry Brown has been allowing fracking companies to put their wastewater in our aquifers for years. And we have a drought. So the reality is that capitalists are allowing this to happen. And it's capitalists that are allowing our government, the capitalists are our government, to poison us. And unless we change that mentality and no sitting, well, I shouldn't say no, there probably are a few, but the majority of sitting Democrats in the state, because the state is run by Democrats, support fracking, and they won't ban it outright. And unless we get rid of them, it's not going to change. So, I mean, it would be nice to say just me, but the reality is that's not how it's going to work. This is going to be an all-out war. We're in a full-on battle right now, and we go to
this goes to the same topic we touched on a minute ago, financing. Because the reason these Democrats will not ban fracking is because they're getting money from the people who don't want to ban fracking, the oil interest, the oil and gas interest.
Because they have no respect for human life. They have no respect for the planet, and they will take a dime over your family. And that's the reality of what we're dealing with here. Because money is their religion.
So what Maria Estrada, the message that she's got is people over profits and ban fracking now. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in and watching our two great Bernie-crats who are running for office. Thanks to our studio audience and the RPA for coming in. Right on. Folks, what we need is we need to get the word out on our candidates, and we need to raise money for our candidates. Nobody wanted to pay much attention to a 74-year-old, a self-avowed socialist from Vermont named Bernie Sanders. In 2015, in June of 2015, Bernie Sanders was polling at 3% against Hillary Rodham Clinton. And by July, 28,000 people were showing up to hear a message on income inequality and that the corporations can't have it all and that we are going to put people over profits. Folks, fast forward to 2018. Here we are, coming up on 3 years since the Bernie campaign got started. And we have started a political revolution in this country, folks. We've got candidates who are running on a Bernie platform in their state. We've got candidates who are ready to take this mission live all over the country. Folks, we need your support. Please go to JaffeForCongress.com.
Number 4.
Jaffe 4. Okay, Karina's going to show, the website right there. Please make a donation. And we're going to ask you to also go to mariaforassembly.org. Here, it's coming up on the screen for you. All right. So, folks, fast forward to March of 2016, right before our California primary. Berniecrats all over the country raised $46 million, which was the most amount of money for campaign donations for any presidential candidate in history. You better believe they listened to us then. And I want some help from the studio audience here. We raised that $46 million at an average donation of $27. All right. Now we have an organization that Bernie Sanders left for us called Our Revolution. Please go to Our Revolution. Find your chapter that's closest to you in your state. Join your local chapter. Get on board, just like the good people in this room have done. Get out and knock on doors for your candidates. Help raise money for their campaigns. Folks, this revolution is going to transform the way that politics happens in the United States of America. It is time for a working class party. And if we can't make it happen within the Democratic Party, we just might have to do it outside. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us. Get out and work for your candidate. Send some money to your candidate. And let's make